Hi everyone, this is what happened to me when I got government housing part 52. So I wanted to start out the day with a video to keep telling you my story, but I had some stuff to do so I couldn't. But we have to keep going. So on the 16th of the 2nd, 2017, I received an email from the police officer that I'd rung regarding the plumber who jumped over my fence. This was the female officer who attended my home when the black paint was thrown on my bra. The officer had emailed me and asked me to ring her, so I did. And I was dumbfounded by how unbelievably rude she was. Not only did she yell at me, she claimed that I had put my case in jeopardy by telling her that people had been in my backyard. And most disturbingly, she claimed that the plumber was allowed to jump over my back fence to do his job. And obviously, I disagreed with everything that she said, but I wasn't able to argue against what she said because of the way the police become so nasty if you disagree with them. I wanted to report that incident because I thought it would help with the investigation into what happened to my bra, but I was yelled at. I also said that I had written up a statement for the officer about what I saw, but she said that she didn't want to see it. I don't believe that giving a police officer information put my case in jeopardy, and I believe that it would have helped. Excuse me. And I can't see any justification for her beating me down and yelling at me, but this was a consistent problem that I had with the police, and I couldn't take it anymore. It seemed to me that they would literally block any effort that I made to help myself. Then on the 17th of the 2nd, 2017, I received an email from the MP's office that I had mentioned earlier, and the email said that they wanted to refer me onto another organisation. I don't believe I contacted that organisation because what I was really hoping for was to get a meeting with an MP in person and in their office so I could finally tell someone the whole story of what was happening to me, including the issues that I'd had with the police and everything else that was going on. Then on the 17th of the 2nd, 2017, I received another letter from Police Command. Obviously that was a response letter to a complaint that I had made. And this letter was in response to a complaint that I'd made about the way the washing machine and dryer incidents were dealt with. I can't put that letter up because I can't find it, but I'm sure I have it on file somewhere. So if I'm ever asked for it, I'll be able to find it. Ironically, this letter recommended that I call the Victims of Crime helpline, and so they were referring me on as well, just like the MP did. And that seemed to be something that I got all the time when I was going through the justice system. Basically, everyone thought I should be referred on to someone else, and no one wanted to take responsibility or even listen to the full story of what happened to me. I wondered how these people could keep their jobs, or even what their jobs were. I thought they were being paid to pass the buck rather than actually work. I wondered why it was so easy for them to get away with doing that. Then on the 22nd of the 2nd, 2017, I received a phone call from VOCAT, the court that I made my application for compensation to, and they said my application for compensation could be reinstated and that I would receive an email regarding the complaints that I'd made about the way the letters to me were written. If you remember, I had received letters from them which seemed to be written in Morse code because they were so full of legal jargon and so hard to understand. Later that day, there were horrible smells coming into my unit from the respondents' unit. It smelt like bodily gases and chemicals and other smells that I couldn't identify. I had to shut all my windows to stop myself from gagging from the smell. I could hear what sounded like an electric sander and a vacuum cleaner going on in the respondent's unit. Then, on the 24th of the 2nd, 2017, I heard something metal being thrown into my backyard, but I didn't go out to look at it because I was too scared. Later in the evening, at around midnight, I heard something bang against my bathroom window, and I didn't know what that was either. Then on the 25th of the 2nd, 2017, I went out to check if there was anything in my backyard, but I couldn't find anything. On the 27th of the 2nd, 2017, I had a serious health incident relating to the issue that I have mentioned earlier, but unfortunately, I can't reveal what that issue was in this series. On the 28th of the 2nd, 2017, I called someone at the court to ask what I had to do to reinstate my application for compensation. I have no idea why I did this, but I have the person's name if I'm ever asked about it. So now we're up to the part that I'm sure a lot of you have been waiting for. This is one of the most painful and ridiculous parts of this entire ordeal for me. Now we're up to my meeting with docs, where I tell you what the allegations against me were. And I hope that I explain this properly to you all. But if I don't, feel free to message me in the comments and I'll try to go through what happened. But obviously, it isn't just about what happened to me. It's about how that all affected me and how hard I had to try to pick up the pieces after all the literal and metaphorical beatings that I took. And this wasn't the respondent, but it felt like one of his assaults. So I attended the Preston DHHS, which is where I was told to attend to have my meeting with docs. And I had to go into a room with a child protection worker and talk to them about the allegations that were made about me. So I went into the room with this woman who was quite young and, excuse me, we sat down and she had this piece of paper that had the allegations on it, and I was leaning forward in my chair because I was so eager to find out what bullshit someone had made up about me. Then she told me, and I nearly lost it completely. I had to exercise so much self-control to stop myself from calling these people fucking idiots, and to stop myself from getting on a bus and going to Sydney, to get away from the respondent and all the public servants who had let me down and yelled at me and refused to help me. But in the moment that I thought of doing that, I knew that it wouldn't work. I knew that if I'd call her a fucking idiot, she would have called the police. I knew that I couldn't pack all of my things away and travel to Sydney because I usually couldn't afford to top up my MyKey card, let alone pay the fare to get all the way from Melbourne to Sydney. I had been convinced that I was powerless over and over again. And so I just sat there and I tried to politely explain that this woman was wrong and the allegations were wrong when all I wanted to do was sit there and start crying. So I was sitting in a room with this woman and she looks at her piece of paper and she says that there were 3 allegations made against me. The first one was that I had a current diagnosis for paranoid schizophrenia. The second was that I don't allow my daughter to look out windows. And the third was that my daughter loses her temper easily. And if you bear in mind, we were now up to February, and because of these stupid, ridiculous and malicious allegations, my entire Christmas was ruined, and I had to go through so much stress, phone calls, emails, letters, contacting MPs. All because of what happened to me, all because of these 3 stupid, baseless allegations. So now that you already know how upset I was by the allegations, and you know what I wanted to do when this person confronted me with them, I'll just go straight to addressing what was said about me. So, firstly, I don't have a current diagnosis for paranoid schizophrenia, and I never have. That allegation was weird for many reasons. Firstly, B, the child protection officer who yelled her way into my home, was yelling at me thinking that I was mentally ill. So that makes her behavior even more serious. Also, I've been labeled schizophrenic by my enemies for a while, and I'll have to talk more about that in another series. But also, when I told this woman that I wasn't schizophrenic, she just accepted it. She didn't say, "Oh, well, we'll have to get a doctor to verify that," which I thought was weird because if they thought I was schizophrenic and took that allegation seriously enough to demand that I attend docs in person, how could they just take my word for it that I was fine? I really wanted to know who had made that allegation against me because it was malicious, but she didn't tell me. Now, on to the next one. And believe it or not, this one is even more ridiculous. The second claim was that I don't let my daughter look out windows. And yes, people talk about my mental health, and I've said before that public servants dealing with me were inducing problems in me, but this was really ridiculous. Obviously, I didn't want my daughter to look out the window when the respondent shot at my window, and on various other occasions, because I had to protect her from seeing things which were distressing. But I don't know how they came up with this claim as an actual allegation against me. It was stupid beyond belief. To me, it sounded like some malicious idiot from the school that she was attending at that time had debriefed my daughter trying to get something out of her, and this was all that they could come up with. Now, on to the last one. The last allegation on the list was that my daughter loses her temper easily, and that was really cruel because of everything that we had been through and everything that I had tried to protect her from, and the fact that we were both living in danger because the respondent and because of the failure of the police to assist us. Obviously, both my daughter and I would smile a lot more if we were away from danger, or if the police had charged the respondent with assaulting me, or if we had got compensation and we were able to sleep at night in a hotel rather than being woken up by the respondent's power tools or chemical smells coming into our unit. Despite what I was feeling and the surreal situation that I was in, I was able to explain that these allegations were false. Despite what I said, the child protection worker said that she would need to speak to my daughter, so that would mean another meeting on top of everything else that I had already done. It really was a whole lot of hard work, all for nothing. I knew that I wasn't a perfect parent and that I had made mistakes over the years, but what docs were doing to me wasn't helpful. I was already working my guts out, dealing with so many different public servants in relation to trying to defend myself from the respondent, and now I had one more burden dumped on me. I didn't want to go back to that building because I found the demeanor of the staff in there really creepy. I didn't want to, but I had to, and I found it ironic that I was forced to perform tasks for public servants when they never felt the need to do anything for me. And I wasn't the one who was being paid, more to the point. Docs weren't helping me. They weren't interested in the bigger picture or in my feelings or in how what they were saying was affecting me. They seemed to think, like other public servants, that there was no amount of physical or emotional pain that I shouldn't be able to deal with.